What's up? What's up? It's another Thursday. I'm back with it. I'm excited to be back after spring break. Lot of free agency news in the NFL.
Oh man.
A lot of NFL stuff. I'm gonna get into it today. I'm gonna get into it a little later, but right now, no, our good show for you today. I'm gonna introduce a guy I'm grown very close to, very fond of. One of the hardest workers, trying to build his name, just like I am. Trying to put not only just football on the map, but just absolute. I want to say black excellence back on the map as well. This we're trying to build as young men. Please welcome to the show, a great friend of mine, great brother of mine actually, Mr. Kervin Coleman.
Appreciate you for having me on the show.
Absolutely,
Great pleasure. I was honestly waiting to do something like this.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very excited for what we got in store today.
Absolutely, it's very long overdue. I was going through people haven't had on. I always had people. I always had people
Yeah.
come to me asking to be on the show. I'm surprised. I was like, I'm surprised if Kurt haven't asked me to be on the show, but I was like, let me get him on.
Now, I never necessarily asked because like people got their own vision
Mm-hmm.
for the stuff that they're going for. So
Yeah.
like, why ask you to do it if it wasn't in your vision for me to just hop on?
Absolutely, no, absolutely. I'm just so used to it, and then, but I definitely was like, let me get you on, especially the wave you're going right now. You're on a very momentous wave, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And you're doing great things. We'll get into that, obviously, but obviously you're a well-rounded student,
I
athlete,
appreciate that.
and also now journalism, getting more into the communication field. So it's a very difficult field as you now know.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult field, but it's a fun field once you
Once you like get your feet into it.
get your feet
Sure.
into it. But you're doing it. But obviously, I applaud you. You're doing a great job.
Appreciate that.
Congratulations. Keep the hard work. But let's get into about you. Tell me a little bit. Tell people about yourself. Obviously, people don't know you because you don't talk that much anyway. So kind of tell people about yourself.
Well, as he stated, my name is Kervin. I'm 22 years young. I'm a senior going into my 5th year here for football. Basically 1 year eligibility, so I got to make sure I get that out. I didn't want to leave nothing on the table. Communication major, as he stated. I want to take it into like a sports analytics route. Uh, what else can I? Oh yeah, I'm also JB's teammate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, been playing football essentially all my life, and it's in my blood. And sometimes you just know when the time is up for your career, and like I just want to make sure I go out with a bang, make sure I just leave no regrets,
Absolutely,
and anything in life, not even just football, anything in life.
Obviously, I mean, I talked on this show a lot. Football for me has correlated with life. Like
it always does.
It always does, and I think that's the best motivator for life. I go through stuff, I'm like, all right, I can relate this back to football. How can I relate this to life? How can I relate life to football? So I mean, like you said, I mean, I got 2 more years left. I'm only taking the one, but obviously, you don't want to leave anything on the table. Obviously,
we still got to talk about that. We still got to talk about that.
Listen, that's another conversation for another day.
Another day, yeah.
But absolutely, but obviously, you started last year, a good amount of games. You played very well. Obviously, we all know you got snubbed from NJAC. You know how much that hurt.
Let's not remind me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's extra motivation.
Yeah.
Tell me throughout the season, when you kind of got those flows in the game of just like being able, kind of like you felt like you were taking over in a sense. Talk to me about that mindset and what you were going through.
Man, it's people tell me that I'm like one of the most confident people they've met, and I guess I can see it because like I ooze that out of my pores.
Mm-hmm.
I just wake up and think I'm about to attack and dominate the day. So I translate that mindset. Not even necessarily I translate that mindset from football. I got that mindset from football.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's times where I was just down. Times where I was doubted. To give a little background knowledge, in high school I tore both my ACLs.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back from that, a lot of people around my city, I heard a lot of noise about me not being the same player I was previous to that. So I would just come to training with like the motivation to just kill everything in front of me, like anything in sight. And I kept that same mindset for years on, and I've just felt as though I was in a similar position this past season because I've been here for a while and I just wasn't playing to the level where I thought I should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a up and down camp. So I wanted to basically just make sure once I got my chance that I flourished in that spot. And I didn't thoroughly get my chance until Catholic. And then once I did, I just made sure I made the most of that opportunity. Yeah, that's about it.
I mean, yeah, obviously you took advantage of the opportunities you talk about all the time. I want to go back to what you said. You said you're a very confident person. You can ooze it
Always.
through your pores. Two things. This is a two-parter. What makes you so confident that you're that guy in any situation? Not even talking football, life, everything. And on top of that, what even on those days where like everything's not going your way, because obviously we all got days like that.
Yeah.
What makes you still be like, I'm still that guy. I'm still who I am every day, no matter what.
To answer your first question, what grew my confidence in that way? I feel as though I was not always that type of person because I grew up. I didn't necessarily grow up a quote unquote loser per se, but I was never the type to be outdoorsy or outgoing until about I want to say 11 to 12 years old.
Okay.
So once that hit, it just shifted my mind, and I felt as though if I'm not confident, that it would be to my detriment. Like if you aren't confident in the things that you do, that you aren't going to do the things that you want to do well. I feel as though you need to have a positive outlook to accomplish all the tasks that you want to. The second part of your question, you restated.
Just what makes you like even on the days that everything's not going your way, bad stuff. How do you keep that mindset?
I always tell myself that things can always be worse.
Yeah.
And I just follow that mantra for anything. Things can always be worse than what it is. Regardless of how bad your situation is, somebody has a worse one at the current moment, at that somewhere around the world. So you need to be grateful for the moment that you're in and just capitalize on anything you can, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that because we've been talking about lately in leadership meeting even today. We're talking about how
Yeah,
like you know be glad that you're here. Be glad that
be glad. Yeah.
and that makes sense because it's like obviously we get up early in the morning. We don't like to do a lot of stuff, right? Like no one really does, and it sucks. But
Yeah.
like we have to realize like people wish they played football.
There's so many people that wish they were in the shoes and had the opportunities that we did. So now that we have it, we need to make the most of it. It's no need to be selfish and get in your own pity and swallow your own wallow. There's no point in that.
Absolutely. I look at it also like even school. Like I'm not the biggest school person, but I've grown more now too because how much I love football and how much I've gotten in my major. I've looked at that like, okay, I don't like school, but people wish they were in school, had the education. People wish they were at a college, and I don't have to worry about that. I can just go to college every day. Even like in life, like if where I will end up, like it's gonna be days where I hate it, but there's people wish they were in my position. People are working to get to my position.
Yeah,
So I guess you can always look at it like that too. That's how I look at it as well.
of course.
So, so we talk about my mindset, and that's a big thing I've always talked about on the show. What else made you go through the season, even when things were not going, like even when you weren't playing? Sometimes, and you had a couple little injuries. Well,
Yeah,
little
always.
little injuries,
Always.
obviously, and then you said the two ACLs. I mean, and then now come back this season, and knowing you now looked at like, all right, you went from a tackle machine with Aaron Cottrell, but obviously you have great respect for it.
Yeah.
Now you got to repeat it. So what's fueling you now more than maybe the record, more than maybe like your numbers or what you did last year? What's more fueling you now than all those other outside factors?
Um. Honestly, what the number one on that list right now is the All Ajax dunk.
Mm-hmm.
Strictly because if I led the conference in a statistical category and was in the top 10 of another, in the third of another, I felt as though they had to literally look at the statistics and skip over me, overlook me on purpose. So I want to get to a point where I can't be denied anymore for anything.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I just need to be at a point where I feel as though nobody can stop me in anything that I do, on and off the field. But specifically on the field, the driving force is that, along with the fact that we lost a lot of winnable games, like a lot of winnable games. Basically, every game we lost was a winnable game.
Yeah.
So it's a revenge story. Not even only just for me, just for everybody on the team. Players like Ray got a redemption arc coming back from an injury that happened on homecoming. Robbie, second year as a starter. All of us, really, it's a plethora of players that got something to prove, and I'm one of them. And I want the adversity towards me because I want to go through it.
Absolutely. And then talking about the LBC, we talked about Ray, we talked about Aaron last year, guys, Charmaine, and now talk to me about what is the LBC and talk to me what you learned from guys like even Dante Capizoli, who played here a couple years ago, and Aaron, and like now what are you bringing to the LBC and what are you learning from even some of the young guys like Nikki Sora, Sean Mann? What are you learning from? What have you learned and what are you learning from these guys?
LBC it's something special. I can't even like fathom how special it really is because I actually did something similar with my linebacker group in high school, and we called it BDB. I can't say what it means, but yeah. So LBC, people just always think of linebacker crew, but it's really by choice, and we try to epitomize that on and off the field. I've learned immensely from not even just Dante and Aaron, but Darren too. Darren Hungerford. Yeah, and they basically, ever since I came here in 2019, they basically put me under their wing and taught me the ropes the way that they were taught, put me through the ringer the way they were put through it, pushed me to be the best version of myself, 1% better every day. And I can't give them enough credit for that. It's oftentimes where I feel lost in my leadership, so I turn to him. If you were to ask Dante or Darren, even as a recent, I like text them and I go to them for advice all the time on what to do if they were in the situation that I was in because they were here. They were top 5 in the NJAC and eventually having to lead the charge themselves. They were in that time period. Now, a player like Ray is at the level that I am. So our relationship is like concurrent because we're going through the same process together in the same class. And I have so much love for Ray because we push each other, but him specifically towards me, he pushes me to be like a beast every day because it's not necessarily a competition between us, but it is in a sense because we don't want to do what the other man can't, We want to make sure that we uplift our brother, whether it's the teammates or just me and him. That's why in weight room every day, we always make sure we try to keep up with Sarah, keep up with Tommy Lee, keep up with everybody, Yeah. And as for Sarah is like a little demigod. I'm not gonna lie. I love Sarah. Yeah, Sarah is great. He's gonna be a force to be reckoned with this year for sure.
He really is.
He already is.
Yeah, he already is. I mean, I love that. I mean, obviously, you guys gotta help me out because I'm gonna play one tech, so you guys will be around me all the time. But I love you guys.
All you gotta do is clog the box for us. We're gonna make the play at the line anyway.
You know I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, Sir's a beast. I've seen Sir do a lot of stuff that I haven't seen other players be able to do. I'm not gonna lie.
I've seen him do a lot of him.
Like, once the game slows down for him, like mentally, it's
raps.
Yeah,
I saw it during Montclair.
Yeah,
like when I felt like everything slowed down for him, it was just play
to
play. And you love to see it because that means he's growing. He's getting
growing as a player. Yeah.
So no, I love you guys. I think you guys are a great group of guys on and off the field. I mean, you guys, your family, just like the D-line's a family.
Yeah.
We got some crazy guys in there like Rich. We have a Rich.
Rich. Yeah.
We have even the Mears of the world. So good players is crazy. But no, I mean absolutely. So I mean, we talked football. I mean, there's not much else we can get into with that because it's like we know what you got to prove it. Obviously, you got to go out and end it the way you want to.
Yeah.
So we look at now. So we'll go off the field now. Obviously, we can get to your journalism stuff. Talk to me about how you got started and all that, and what you've learned through all this process of journalism.
How I got started with it is, it's actually a rather intricate story. It's actually similar to the way that I got into football. To give you a brief overview of how I got into football, I actually grew up loving basketball first.
Oh wow.
Yeah, grew up loving basketball first. Even though football was in my blood, I got an uncle in that was in the NFL, and basically all my family was good to great football players within my town and my high school or whatnot. So I grew up loving basketball, and eventually, I grew up a bigger kid, when in the width aspect. I grew up a bigger kid, so it just was more natural for me to play football. And then when I did, it became natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to that, I grew up loving math. Always loved math until there was letters in math.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I grew up loving math immensely. And then after that, it started like gradually get harder to me. So I like shifted my school focus to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up hating English,
Wow.
but then I started to understand the path of English. Believe it or not, a lot of Shakespeare actually got me into that. Like reading stuff like Hamlet.
Nah, I love Hamlet. Actually
Yeah,
love Hamlet, Macbeth.
reading stuff like Hamlet, Romeo, Juliet, and Macbeth honestly opened my eyes to like a journalistic aspect of things because once I learned about poems and stanzas and stuff like that, it reminded me of like music in a way, like
Mm-hmm.
a work of art, a work of beauty. But then it also like gave me the power to have a voice,
Mm-hmm.
and it gave me the opportunity to like put my voice on paper,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that's basically how I got into it. I'll say that happened around. I made that transition around like sophomore to junior year in high school.
Okay.
I actually might have a picture of. I'll look for it later. I
Yeah.
might have a picture of the first poem I ever wrote, and it's kind of crazy because my YouTube channel now. I'll speak on that later. My
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel now. My first video was actually two stanzas, just opposites.
I was there for your first two
Yeah,
because you got to do them for a class we had.
yeah. I did it for class, and I decided I wanted to do that in poem style. So I wrote two stanzas and made them like parallel to each other, but in the opposite form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of doing the part two to that. But basically, I love writing because it gives me like a voice on paper, and I've been told about my writing that you could kind of like tell my writing style,
Mm-hmm.
like you could tell who's writing it by just reading it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
I mean, you don't hear people talk about poems and stuff like in writing because I've dabbled in the poems, they've dabbled in
mhm.
the creative. I love creative writing. There's not a lot of people things know about me. Like I love writing stories. I write scripts here and there, just like in movie ideas because I'm very creative.
Creative, yeah,
Because
for
I'm an
sure.
only child, so my brain's always moving
Always
and
active.
always active. Like, and he writes music. So when he started writing music, me and him started looking at music, and he that's what he's really good at. So I started getting into that because I was like, oh, I want to get into that because he started getting that, and we do stuff together all the time. So I looked at that. So poem writing is very interesting, right? And I think for you to write poems, would you say it comes easy to write poems like that?
Um, Writing a poem, I wouldn't say it's necessarily easy, but once you get in the flow of it,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's actually hard to stop.
Okay.
Similar to music. Now, I only compare it to music because to give a little insight, my favorite four artists are Eminem, Nas, Tupac, and Biggie.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that all four of those have in common is that they're incredible lyricists and they tell stories and paint pictures with their words.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to take that aspect and implement it into my journalism, sports specifically,
Yeah.
because you could just paint the picture of what's going on in front of you onto paper or onto commentary and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Obviously, being the sports writing stuff because like I was talking to Dorian, good friend of ours, and he talked about I was talking to him and John, the kid John he would always work with, and there was
Yeah,
another kid I can't
yeah,
remember
John.
his name.
I remember John.
They were talking
The ones
about
that commentate the games.
yeah,
Yeah,
there was a couple of them, and they would commentate the game, and they were talking about how when you're an analyst instead of when you're not the color commentator, but the analyst of the game. No, the color commentator. He's the one that talks about makes the story.
yeah,
Right? If we look at a player, if I look at you, Curve, and I'm like, okay, this guy is snubbed on N Jack, you're writing the story like he has something to prove without even writing it, but you're not saying it verbally. So it's like, okay, I get you. All right, I understand. I think that's a beautiful thing, right? And I think with you writing, obviously, the sports writing, you do that. I read some of your articles, and you kind of, and the first kind of parts you start with is this is who this player is, or this is what this player's moment that went through, that he or she just went through, and this is how we started. And I think that's a great idea. I don't really see many people write that like that. Even I read ESPN articles, they kind of start with the main story, get into the visual part, then get back into the story. So when you're writing these sports articles, where your first mindset is visualizing, how effective do you think that is when you're to the readers?
I hope it's. effective in the way I feel it's effective. Like, I basically want them to read the story and envision themselves as if they were there. And I feel like I did a great job with that with my most recent story about Trail Shot.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to start that one with the actual game dialogue of what the commentators. It was actually John and Dorian.
John and Dorian,
Yeah. It was them that was giving the commentary for that shot. So me being that I was actually there, I wanted to basically give my perspective, the perspective of the players, the perspective of the commentating team, and everybody in the gymnasium that was also there for that specific play.
Okay.
I wanted to basically bring the emotion of that specific play onto paper. And I feel as though that a reader would read that and they would see it for what it is as they were there too. So it's like you didn't even miss it.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful thing. And I feel like even when reading that, it was very different than even the KT story.
Very different, yeah.
And I think that is that a plan or route you think you're going to keep going, or was that like all right, we're going to use it this time, maybe use it again down the line.
Yeah, I try not to, with most things actually, I try not to attack everything the same way. So I definitely, whenever I think of a topic, I try to take on a different route to take it on that topic. But obviously, if something's not broke, don't fix it. So I definitely would take that route for another similar type of story, like anything controversial or something like that. I would definitely take that same route.
Yeah, because I even with my show, I take different routes depending on the person. Obviously, I won't talk to you how I talk to with the basketball guys.
Yeah,
there's two different mindsets.
Two different, yeah.
Right, and then you have a lot more. In a sense, I don't want not to discredit nobody. I'm just saying there's a lot more layers to your story. Like you're a football player, athlete, but you also are trying to be an influencer in the sports analyst community, and that's something I want to be in. So now speaking on that, what now made you get into like, okay, after my sports career, I still want sports around me. That's how I looked at it. I don't know if you look at it the same way. I still want to be around sports. What made you still want to be around sports and now touch into a way different field than what you were doing?
Because, man, growing up, I wanted to be a whole bunch of different stuff. But then once I started playing football, I was like adamantly sure that I wanted to play professional football. And it after the first two ACL tears, I think I still wanted to play professional football. And then I think I got here at Kane. And like feeling the effects of like injuries in the body, like as I get older, stuff doesn't get easier, It started to make me reconsider. And I thought to myself, as simple as this: if I can argue about sports with any and everybody, why not give my journalistic aspect of it, do the same thing, and do it for a profession, do it for something that's a way of life, do something I love, talk about something I love, and have it basically feed my family and feed myself for as long as possible. Why not be around something I love? And if you want to do something in life, that goes for anything.
Yeah.
If you want to do something, you got to make sure you enjoy it. Yeah. Or else you're just going to be miserable doing it.
Yeah. That's the same way. I don't know. You're the first person I actually looked at. You said that, and I think the same way. Because word for it, because I was always like, yeah, I want to play football after, and I still want to. I want to play football as long as I can, right? Obviously, God permitting and financially permitting.
Yeah.
But
especially here.
Yeah, especially here. Yeah. But then I'm talking about when I talk about sports, I'm like, I always like talking about sports. I feel like I can argue sports anything anybody, especially if I know the topic. It's something I can do my research on. I'm gonna do it. So I might as well make that a career. I know I can talk sports. I know I can. In my opinion, I'm a very confident guy, just like you. I feel like I could argue with the Stephen A's of the world, with the Mad Dogs of the world, just because I just do my own research. Skip Bayless.
I'm about to say, it's a couple times you guys argue with me.
Yeah, that's just what I do. That's what I do. I mean, obviously, I argue the harder debates, like the GOAT debate in basketball. I don't feel like there's one in football as much. I've argued more now. Not as in football as much. There still could be argument.
That's because the positions in football are like it. Football's more of a puzzle than basketball.
Yeah.
So like you need the right piece to fit in every single spot. So like you can be the GOAT quarterback. You can be the GOAT quarterback, but the pieces around you don't fit or don't fit as well as a good to great quarterback with better pieces around him, then like it won't work as well. Whereas in basketball, yes, basketball is a team sport, but there's a lot more individuality in basketball.
Yeah.
That's why you can consider a GOAT in basketball, and you can't really consider a GOAT overall GOAT in football. It's more position.
Yeah, there's
based.
not. So obviously, this because we can argue because I think it was the year was it was.
I do have a GOAT in football though.
I have a couple mind switches because I've always said my individual GOAT was LT.
My